Okay, here we are in Google Sheets, and I'm going to show you, guide you through the process of calculating measures of center, which is mean, median, and mode, as well as standard deviation of any random variable that you have in your spreadsheet. So here we are in Google Sheets, and I'm already in the raw data spreadsheet. And so the first thing I want to do is make a copy of this spreadsheet. So I'm just going to left click on the downward triangle and choose duplicate. And here it made a copy of that spreadsheet. So now I'm going to left double click in order to change the name. And I'm going to call this measures of center and spread. Okay, that kind of lets me know what this spreadsheet is about. So now I'm going to scroll over so it'll make it easier for you to see what I'm doing off to the right. And the random variables that I'm interested in are really everything from column D all the way to column H. Now, you may be only selecting one or two columns, and that's fine. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can do 5 or 6 columns, and it doesn't take any extra work. All right, so let me show you how to do this. So first of all, what I'm going to do is just take these names up here and copy, Control C in Windows. And I'm going to click in this cell and choose, actually go to this one. Go to the cell and click Control V for paste. Okay, so that just kind of copies these random variables here across the top. And then down the side, this is going to be the measures of center and spread that I'm interested in. But the first thing I want to do is I want to build a count, maybe how many records I've got. I would like to count how many of those records, how many of those rows are blank. All right, so for example, in this duration random variable, you can see in some places there's no data. So blank is going to count how many blank spaces I've got. Okay, and then after that, this is where we have our measures of center. So, the mean is equal to, the median is equal to, the mode is equal to, and then standard deviation. Now, the data that I have is actually all roller coasters in North America. So because it's all, mine is going to be the standard deviation of a population. Your data set may not represent all of something. Yours may be a sample. Okay, so instead of population, you would type maybe sample for sample. Mine is dealing with a population. So I'm going to do that and put an equal sign there. Okay. And let's see, just for aesthetic reasons, this is all left justified. I can click here and I kind of line it right. So all my equal signs kind of line up here. That's just a little formatting, little extra formatting there, but I think it looks nicer. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to put formulas in each of these cells to calculate each of these things for this speed random variable. So notice that my data goes from like D2 to, I can scroll down, D242. Okay. So just so that I don't have to remember it, I'm just going to type it in like that. Okay. All right. So now, what formula do we use? Now, if you just start typing in any cell, and this is true in Microsoft Excel as well as Google Sheets, the spreadsheet's going to consider this as text and not do anything special with it. But if you start typing, but the first character you type is an equal sign, Okay, in both Microsoft and Excel and in Google Sheets, whenever you type an equal sign first, you're communicating to the spreadsheet software that you intend to input a formula. Okay, now notice, when I typed in n equals was not the first character I put in. So because equals was not the first character I put in, Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel will consider that text and not a formula. So what you want to do is make sure that you type in equals first. And in order for it to count the number of rows that have data, you use the count function. So start to type the word COUNT, and it's giving several options here. So count A. You can just kind of hover your cursor and it'll kind of tell you what each of these do, each of these functions do. Count blank, that's what we're going to use next. So we'll just use count. And then it wants a range of values. And that's why I typed this in up here. So I'm going to want to say the range of values go from D2 to D242. And you'll notice as I typed that in, it started selecting things. If I change this from D2 to D10, so notice it's selecting cells D2 to D10, all right? But I don't want to select just part of it. I want to select everything that I've got. So I know it goes from D2 to D42, and I'll hit close parentheses, and as soon as I hit enter, it's going to use that count function. This is a little annoying. It tries to anticipate what you want to do below to autofill. Just hit X to reject that suggestion. Okay, so what this is telling me is that I've got 241 data values from this cell D2 down to D242. All right, so that gives me my size of my data. So now let's do blank. So now I'm going to hit equals, start typing the word count, and I'm going to use count blank. So this will count the number of empty values. And I'm going to type from D2 to D242, enter, and 0. So what that means is there are no blank cells in this entire column of data. All right, next to count the mean, we'll do it equals. And if you start typing the word mean, you'll notice there isn't a mean function. But another word for mean is average. So you can calculate the average. And so this first function, average A, should be fine. So we'll left click that. And then it wants a range of values. So the range of values will be everything from D2 to D242. Enter. Okay, and there's my mean of the speed random variable. I can do the same thing with median. So equals, I can start typing MED for median, and there is a median function. Left click that, and now it wants a range of values. So that's from D2 to D242. And then for mode, I put equals mode. And you can have it multimodal or make sure that it's only a single mode. But I think this mode function is just fine. So left click on that. It wants a range of values. So I'll put D2 to D242. And there's my mode. Here for standard deviation of a population. So for me, this is a population. So I'm going to equals, and I'm going to start typing standard deviation. And notice if I keep typing standard, it's not showing up like a standard deviation function. The standard deviation function is abbreviated. So STDEV, DEV. So that's short for standard deviation. And you've got a lot of different options here. The one that I want to use is this one. It's standard deviation.p, and this is the standard deviation of an entire population. If your data set isn't from an entire population, if yours is a subset of the population, if yours is a sample, then this would be the function that you use. Okay, but for me, I need to use this one, the standard deviation of an entire population. So I'm going to left click that. And now it wants a range of values. So the same as before, D2 to D242. Okay, and column D again is just where my random variable, this speed random variable, happens to be under. And if I hit enter, that's it. So now I've got, the number of the data size here in the first, how many blank spaces there were in that data, the mean, the median, and mode, which are my measures of center, as well as the standard deviation of the population. So now I'd like to replicate this for these other random variables. And notice that over here on the left, column D is speed. And then the very next column over is height, just like over here. The first column is speed. And then the next column over is height. And then, if we go back over here to the left, each column follows each other, just like here, speed, height, drop, length, and duration. So the reason why I set it up this way is because now if I select all of these cells and then I grab this little dot in the lower right-hand corner, you can see the cursor changes from a pointer to a plus sign. Left click and hold and drag that over. And then let go as soon as you're at the end of the very last random variable, and let go. And what it does is it copies the formulas for these cells into this one, into this one, into this one, and into this one. But as it copies from this cell to this one, notice how the formula is going to change. So, here the formula we wanted was for column D, which was the speed random variable. And if I go one cell over, it now says E, which is for height. If I go one cell over, it's now using column F, which is the drop random variable. If I click here, it used column G in its calculation, which was the next column over. And the next column over is duration, which is column H, and that's right there. So, as soon as you create the formulas for one of these random variables, all you need to do is copy it over. And you've now calculated those same values for any number of random variables you want without any extra work. Okay, so this is, I decided to go ahead and combine calculating measures of center as well as a measure of spread because it could just be done all at the same time and be done really quickly and easily.